just a question I want to ask you in the chat. Just what is your comfort level with clips? Have you used it before? Do you have much ability? If you're like, hey, it's something I've never heard of. So just 1 being basic or novice and 10 being more of a pro level. So just take a moment in the chat and just tell me where you think you are with clips, or, and that's fine. Cool. Lance says he's a beginner. Nina's definitely there. Beginner. Tara's an original, said I played with it a little bit, and that's fine. I say this this past year, I've kind of dabbled in it, and we've gotten a little bit better with it in our district. We're starting to get more people use it, and I say the neat thing about this, if you're a one-to-one iPad district like we are, you are going to most likely have it as one of the native tools. If you don't, not a big deal. A lot of students, I say, have phones, and somebody asked me like, hey, Brian, can I download on Android? I'm going to say, I'm sorry. It's definitely an iPad or an iOS device tool. So I'm going to just give you a quick Apple Clips introduction. Nothing real special. If any of you, like me, grew up in the 90s and you were a wrestling fan, I'm going to show you just a quick overview of what exactly it is.
Hey there. Thanks for joining me today, where I'm going to tell you about Apple's Clips. You can use it on any iPhone or iPad, but the best way to learn about it is to see it. I'm going to give you an example that I made about myself. Come on. I firmly believe in global education for all students.
Let's go, Mountaineers.
So guys, what you just saw is really the basic step. One of the assignments that I would say it's one of those great tools for your students, whether you're face-to-face, and you can even go another step and possibly say, man, you know what? Now I got an introduction, now that I have a rubric, these are things I wanted, that's great. But Brian, how do I use it for content? And I'm going to give a huge shout out in my presentation to give you more of a tour around town. And actually, I'm going to be honest, this is not a video that I've done. This is actually my counterpart, Nick Genovese, who's another talented tech coach in our district, who did this really cool take of it. And I call it for student engagement on Apple Clips. And if you're familiar with Apple, it's out of the West Coast. It's in Cupertino. And what he was able to do was to pull an Apple Maps, which is another app, and kind of smash it with clips and take a totally different approach, which I want to show you because it's a really cool approach on just the power of clips. Oh, you know what? That was an accident. We'll try that one more time from the top. So one of the things I love about this assignment is it is a general idea of like how you can get creative with the CLIPS tools. And I always say, when I'm thinking of a social studies teacher, I'm thinking of like learning about culture. This is a really awesome tool where you can really like jump down and like maybe look at a community, look at different pieces that I would say the Apple Maps gives you, be able to kind of point in using that Apple Pen to give you a real deep understanding of what it looks like. And to me, that's super exciting to be able to do that, because if you start thinking outside the box, if you're a science teacher, thinking about whether you're doing a series of events or I would say an order of things, like you have that ability to do that with Apple's Clips. And that's really exciting because I always say, start thinking outside the box. How awesome could we do this? And one of the other things that I hope that you were able to see as we went through, like it had that live transcript being going through. So we also had that ability. So it is accessible to folks all over the place, which I really love. So if you're in your Apple's Clips, what I'm going to say is like, you have the ability, and I'm going to just show you real quickly, just some like, hey, the app and the basics, like 101, like how to get started. And what we have here is, this is really like the Apple component that you have, and you have some options. If you have an iPhone, you can totally do it on your iPhone or the iPad. I'm actually going to use my iPhone today as when I model, because I think there's a little bit of ease, because if you're not in Apple school, like, oh, like, hey, I know kids have phones, maybe I can utilize this. And I think that's a really cool way to get started. One of the things I love about this is you go through, it's a really simple layout. When we start thinking about like, oh, how do I record? You're literally just holding down on this long red button. And as you're holding down, it can record. You also have that ability, if you want to go through and you know, like, hey, I'm going to take a longer video, you can just do the video component of it. If you want to add a picture in there, you have that ability. One of the things that you probably saw in both of the examples was you might have seen like a picture or like a memoji, and like it has that capability in there too, which is really fun and exciting because you have all of those abilities, and it's almost like you're walking around with like a little digital studio right in your pocket. So what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to say, let's record an intro. But when we go to record our intro, what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to kind of change gears a little bit, because I think it's one of those things where I want you to kind of get an idea of what it looks like to actually go through and like, hey, how would I actually do this in my classroom? And I want you to take a moment to do a recording about yourself. And people are like, well, what do you mean a recording about myself? Maybe just an introduction, like maybe something that you're going to give to your students the first day of school, and let them have that ability to do it. And what I'm going to do here is, and I haven't done it yet, and I'm just going to share my screen real quick, my desktop, and I'm hoping that you can see my iPhone right there in front of you. Okay. And what I did was, I'm going to just kind of start from scratch. I'm going to go into my Clips app. And what you have the ability to do is, if I want to record myself, all I have to do is just, if you see my hand, I'm just kind of holding down on that red button. And as I talk, it gives me that basic kind of like, I can talk about myself. I know this might be longer. I can do a hard press hold on it and drag it up. And now I don't have to hold my finger on there the whole time. It's just recording until I go through and tap on there. So what I'm going to do now is, I'm a real big fan of letting you guys kind of practice and work through. And as I talk, it gives me that basic kind of like, I can talk about myself. There's myself. What I'm going to have you guys do is, I'm going to give you a short time period to actually practice and record an introduction about yourself. So let's talk about some of the things so I'm going to kind of pause and ask you, if you were meeting kids for the first time, maybe in a virtual setting, or if you wanted kids to make a video about themselves so you could learn about them, what would you want them to have in your video? So let's take a moment. Let's add that into the chat. What would we want kids to tell us in our introductory video? Or what would we as an adult want to tell in our introductory video? Okay, yeah, Crystal, absolutely. Name and position at school. Hobbies, goals. Yeah, Lance, absolutely. Definitely something to kind of get them started with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just throw the timer on for a moment. Oh, maybe I'm not. There we go. Let me switch devices real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, and what we're going to do is just give you some time for you to practice it yourself. So let's give ourselves 5 minutes so we can kind of do an introduction recording. awesome. You guys have just taken time to record your first component, and I'm super, super excited about it because now we're going to take our work and kind of move it to the next level. So we're going to pause for a second. I'm just going to go back into my Keynote and kind of share screen and just give you a quick snip of what the next part's going to look like. And just to give you an idea of what it looks like. So I always say this, it's really cool to kind of have that first part done. Okay, you've done your recording. Hopefully you're satisfied with your take. You've had the chance to share a little bit about it to yourself, which is awesome. But sometimes you might want to like jazz it up a little bit, give it a little bit of flair. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about like how would we throw like an introduction in, and what we call it in the clips or Apple world, it's called a poster. And just kind of gives you a little bit more to see. In the next part after the poster, we're going to look at how do we modify, maybe adding some different effects. I say this candidly, my son loves superheroes and you can have some effects where you can change colors and change the look of your picture. And I think those are really fun things to do. And I want to just take a moment for you guys to be able to look and see what that looks like, because I think it's a huge piece that can like really support and help you out a lot, because that's what kids love. They love doing some of those things to stay engaged and to see exactly what they're doing. So we're going to be able to jump in and see what that looks like today as we go through. So I'm going to jump back into my clips, and give me 1 second. I'm going to switch to a device. Somebody in the chat sent me a private message and saying like the screen's a little small, which is fine. I got you. So I'm going to go back into desktop share. Cool. So I'm hoping you can see my iPad right now. We'll jump back into clips. And what you're going to notice here on the bottom side, like that is my first clip, or like my small video piece that I have ready. So that's all that is a basic piece to show what I've done. So like this is almost like its own little video. So what I want to do is I want to put a poster in. So if you're sitting there looking at the poster, whether you're on a phone or an iPad, you're going to be able to see like a little picture. It shows like two pictures in one. I'm going to tap on it. And a lot of people are like, oh, those are the photos in your iPad. But if you look, it's also going to give you an option for posters. And with that posters, like we have all kinds of different things in there. And I'll tell you, Apple updates these like pretty regularly. So it's kind of cool to see like what they have in there. I say this, we used to have some different like superhero ones, which I'm sad that they're not there anymore. I don't know what happened. So I always say, personally, I feel like being in school is an adventure every day. So what I have the ability to do is now I'm going to have like a brand new cover in there. So all I have to do is I can go through, I might call this like, am I still share screening? Make sure I didn't lose it. If somebody in the chat could just give me like a yes, like, hey, I can still see your screen. Okay, cool. All right, fantastic. Something clicked on my side. I thought it was weird. So like, I might just say like adventure at school, or adventure at school, or like you might even call like this like meet your teacher. Okay, and what it's going to ask you to do is you're just taking it in there and just going to apply it. And as you're going through and you're like changing it, what I tell folks to do is take your red button that you have all the way on the right, which you may not see it on my screen, but like if you just hold that down, what it's going to do is it's going to go through and give you like the introduction. It's almost like you're recording that piece. You make it as long as you want, then you pause. And now what will happen is it'll give you like that small, like cool intro. And once you do that, you're going to notice down here on the bottom, it's almost like I have two cuts. So what I would do here is I might just drag that one cut over, okay, which is super simple to do. Then from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, now I have my poster to kind of start, and I'm going to give you guys some work time to kind of go through this. Now I'm going to tap on me. And what I did was I just did an introduction about me.
Hey everyone, welcome to Showing Your Learning with Clips. My name is Brian Cook. I'm the instructional technology coach in Worcester County Public Schools.
Now, I can tell you that's not overly exciting. Okay. Can I add a little bit more? So on the screen right now, before I jump in here, I want you to notice that star. This star to me, like if you notice on my screen, like I've changed. I can be original. I can go in comic book mode, which I personally love. You have some different options that I'd say that kids love to kind of figure out and deal with a little bit. And this is really where all your options come in. Another one, I'm going to kind of go here across the bottom. You might say live titles. When I'm talking right now, the default is it's always off. But what I'm going to do is I always love the idea of making sure we're making things accessible. I say this to my teachers all the time. Accessibility is no longer like if I want to, it's really a requirement. You got to have subtitles. You got to have these things for teachers. So if you have your live titles on, you can actually go through, and as you're doing your recording, it will pick up your audio. Now I'll tell you, it's not perfect. Like it doesn't have the capitalization, the commas and those things, but don't worry, you can fix it. So as you go through, the other piece that I want to show you a little bit was you have this ability to kind of do like different texts. I always say like, wow, and you can just drag this. Of course, I'm having a little bit of struggle right now. I might have to turn my device sideways. There we go. Well, we'll try that one more time maybe. But anyway, you can go through and grab another, oh, there we go. And all you have to do is just change the word like wow. Then from there, you have the ability to kind of move it around the screen as much as you want. Okay, which is kind of a neat little option. Going back into that star, I encourage you kind of scroll down, look at all the things. If you go over here to, this is your stickers, kind of like emoji stickers. Everybody has preferences. I will say, I think there's some cool things in there. Like if you remember my original shot, we have like a little fire thing where the coffee is. If you're talking about like yeses and nos, like what's happening. So you can kind of give that check mark or different things. If you are a Disney fanatic, which I say this, I'm not as much as some other people, but you have that ability. You also have the emoji component in there, which is really cool. And the more emojis, you kind of have different things that you can pull from. So kind of a cool thing, like I'm a football fan. I can kind of put that around and maneuver it. So that's kind of a cool component that you can do to yours. So I'm going to go back into my actual clip that I did. But I want to show you guys one more component of there. And it's kind of hard to see from here because I'm in live presentation. But now that I am in there, once you go into your clips and you go to a clip you actually recorded, you can't see it quite on your side. There will be an edit text button. And what that'll let you do is it'll let you see what you've typed. And people are like, why would I want to do that? Because now,
Hey everyone, welcome to Showing Your. Hey everyone, welcome.
Let me fix that for myself. I didn't put it on there.
Welcome to Showing Your Learning with Clips. My name is Brian Cook. I'm
So
the
hopefully you
instructional
can
technology.
see how that's starting to come together on the bottom with that text. So see like my words coming on the screen. And there's a lot of different options. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Like we gave you a little bit of time. What I want you to do now is I'm going to give you two steps or two activities. I'm going to ask you to go back and put a poster at the front of your introduction. Okay. And just as a reminder for the poster, you go to the star. Okay. Oh, sorry, I said that incorrectly. You go to the picture, then you go into your posters up here, and you can add one in. So that's our first thing. The second part I'm going to ask you to do is I want you to go through, make sure we tap on our introduction that we made, and look around and see whether an emoji, or whether you're real big on having the live text or pictures is important. And let me know if that's something that you can put in there. And I'm going to ask you, try to do both, because I say this all the time. If we don't learn how to struggle and work through things, we're never going to have our kids do the same. So I'm going to give you that time. And that's a lot of work to do in a short time. So I'm going to increase the time to 7 minutes this time. And I'm going to let you go through, and I'm going to put let's see if I can pull my timer up here. Maybe. There we go. I'll give you 7 minutes, and we're going to do those 2 steps, the poster, as well as kind of add that emoji, or if you want to change that filter. So let's get started. Let's practice a little bit. All right, man. Awesome job, you guys. I'm stoked. Just in the chat, I just want to ask a real simple question. So if you would say like, hey, thinking about like the difficulty, okay? When I say difficulty, I mean like 1, this is really easy, and 10, this is like crazy challenging, okay? What would you rate Apple's clips right now for usability? Okay, wow, like Kara, man, you're like, I couldn't finish typing the question. Yeah, like you got an easy, Crystal. One of the things that sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge, like what happens if you take a video and it's like, oh, you know what? It's not quite what I want it to be. Like, is there like an edit button where I can like edit part of a clip and come back? And some people are like, oh, like, no. And I say that like, if you want to go something more advanced than iMovie or Final Cut Pro, like you can totally do that. But the thing I love about clips is the simplicity of it. It's not meant to be necessarily that like crazy challenging piece. It's meant to be real simple for kids. And that's what I love about it. They can go further when they get into different courses, but for this, definitely the way to go. I want to add one more piece in there. And like I said to folks, I thought this would be more of an hour session, 7 hour and 20. So if we get done a little early, I apologize, but I want to show you one more piece. And I think everybody can still see my screen on my iPad. In the top right-hand corner, you see like a little music symbol. I'm going to tap on that. One of the things that I love about this, like, hey, my music. And people are like, oh, like, hey, what do you have on your music? I'm not going to lie. See that? See what I have? Nothing, because I don't really keep music on my device because it kind of bogs it down. But with clips, it comes with certain like soundtracks, and you're going to notice if you look at that like little red kind of like down arrow, yeah, it's not necessarily on my device because I don't download them all. But what it does do, the few that I have downloaded from time to time, I can go through kind of here. I'm just going to take the first one for today. And I'm going to tap that and like, okay, it's good. I got my check mark. Ooh, you got my check mark over there. Now I'm going to go up to the corner to go back. And what it does is it's going to automatically give me this soundtrack for the whole length of my video, which is really awesome. So all I have to do is click on my done in the top right-hand corner. And if I play this through down, what it's going to do is it's going to go through and give you like the introduction. It's almost like you're recording them. Now, I hope you were able to hear that. You're able to hear the music start. Now you heard my audio, and really that's because when we did the poster, I was still talking out loud. Normally when I would have recorded, I would have just been like stone cold silent. But it's kind of cool because you have that music piece in there. Now, people always ask me like, hey, Brian, like, that's really cool. But like, I'm not done yet. I want to do photos and other things just like you did. So what I would tell folks is like, hey, let's go back to this, picture button. And if you have still frames from things around your house, maybe you're talking about, my daughter did a really cool Media Expo project where we looked at the life of a plant and we took a picture of it every Friday after school. We could kind of see the difference. So like, if you had a photo, which I'll throw maybe my Memoji up there. So what I can do is I can also just throw a still frame in there. And as I'm doing my still frame, it's like anything else. Right now, it's just a photo. But remember, this is a video. So we can't just have standalone. We have to actually have videos in there. So if I want this for 4 seconds, all I do is hold down on that red button for my 4 seconds, my 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. And now like that's now another clip in my video piece at the bottom, which is kind of cool. So if I want to go back there, I can also change some of my settings. So I'm going to move it into comic book look. And now you have that ability. People say like, oh my gosh, why would I want that? And I say, let's think instructional. Like one of our science teachers does this all the time pre-pandemic for experiments piece by piece. And she would go through and like, hey guys, here's the stopping points. And like, maybe it's like 5 parts, and she would have them take a photo. Then at the end, they always did a reflection piece. And we had kids hold the iPad up to each other and they would talk through steps, or they would take photos and they would do the audio over top of it, which was really exciting because learning becomes visible. We see what kids are doing, but more importantly, we can hear their thoughts. And I say that when you can add that audio, the video, the analytical thinking all together, like, man, we have a beautiful product of learning. And that's what Clips gives to us. It gives us that ability to go through. So what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to stop and give you like another quick 2 minutes. I'm going to ask you to throw music in. Doesn't matter which one, because we're just practicing today, just so you can get a soundtrack in there. And I'm also going to ask you to get an image in there, put it in there for your video. So we're on two steps, music, then image. So we're going to take real quick. It's going to be like a lightning round, 2 minutes, and we're going to get that put in. Okay. All right, you got 1 minute. Hopefully you got that sound in there. We're going to be working next to grab a photo, any photo off your device, and just do a short recording, whether it be a few seconds. If you want to get creative, you can change the filter. No problem. Under 1 minute. All right, fan. Oh, still got that one on there. Cool. So now we have that. Let's get that off of there. Cool. Now, as we get in back into our clips, we have what we have. And now the question that everybody asks me, I got it, I'm done. Okay, let's pretend we've done it all. How do I save it? You don't want a clips file. You want an actual file of your work so people can see it. I say this for me, we are a Schoology district, whether you're a Google Classroom, a Canvas, a Blackboard, a Moodle, whatever it is. This is a really easy opportunity. What I'm going to do is in the right-hand corner, we're going to hit that up box with the up arrow. We like to call that a share in my world. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to bring my video. We have a saved video option. And what it does is it's going to essentially just go through, going to, I like call it mix itself together, pull it together, the file. And what it's going to do is give you a copy of this photo in your photos libraries. So for example, if I'm kind of pulling back to my iPad, I want to go into photos now, go to my most recent, tap on it. Now I have my video, which is kind of cool. So today, folks, just as we've gone through, oh, look at that, I even got all the audio. I have it on mute right now, which is fine. But the neat thing I want you to know is that, like, whether you think that you're really super talented at it or not, you just created a video today, an introductory of yourself, which is really awesome because some people think that we have to be like these amazing digital rock stars to really do some of this stuff with our kiddos. And I'm not saying that you're not a digital rock star. I'm just saying that it's not necessarily what's needed all the time. Sometimes just the simplistic pieces, like an app like this, is more than what you need to showcase kids what they need. So I'm going to take a chance here, and I want you to think about this. This is actually my Padlet from yesterday, but if you take your camera app and you just kind of hold it up there, you have the ability to share what you've done. I know you probably might see like share your icebreaker. If anybody wants to share their work for others to see, I think that's a really awesome time to kind of learn and see what people have done, because I say this all the time. I don't know about everybody, but I feel sometimes a little bit like a little nervous about sharing some of the things that I do, because I always question, like, is it good enough? I'm nervous about it, but I've learned in distance learning, like, I'm not going to be the expert at everything. And I know that sometimes it takes a little bit of time and practice, but we have to be willing to kind of come out of our comfort zone a little bit and share with people what we've done. So I'm going to ask you if you would share for the next few minutes. And like I said, if you're like, hey, I really don't feel comfortable with it, that's fine. I'm okay with it. That's not a problem. But it's definitely a lot of fun. So far today, we've gone through Apple Clips. We've talked about navigation, gone through, and hopefully we're sharing. I just want to ask one question to kind of end it. How do you think you can use clips in your classroom? Let's kind of pause and reflect for a second. How do you think you can use clips in your classroom? Okay, let's pause for a second, see if we can get some responses in our chat. We can reflect on the question and upload and share if we'd like. Cool, Chris. Absolutely. It's very quick. I love iMovie. I'm a big fan. I love the green screen capability, but I've learned, like, when I get to elementary school, like I can't use this as much. I can't use iMovie as much. A little bit more of a challenge. I definitely think it's a possibility that you can use with younger learners. Cool. Awesome. General announcement to the class. Add that to Flipgrid. Yeah, the cool thing, Nina, about Flipgrid is Flipgrid has a lot of cool components too. If you wanted to app smash and have them make their clips, then put it into Flipgrid. I say this candidly about Apple. Sometimes when you take all this stuff, it's not as easy to share out to the world. And I'm just realistic, unless maybe you use a Padlet. You can do a file upload into a Flipgrid and kind of archive it. I've used that a couple times for storage components, just to kind of keep it secure, so I can have it over longer periods of time, so I don't have to like fill in my cloud storage space, because unfortunately, if you do this long enough, you run out of space. So cool. Like I say, I would still say, if there's any instructional ideas of ways that we think that we could utilize this. Cool. A couple examples. I'm going to go back to my ELA days. We used to do 2 voice poems, and this is one of our activities where we would literally like have the recording on one person, then we kind of go back to the other person. Then sometimes for 2 voice poems, you'd have people together and we would record them together. And that was a normal way that we would use this. It kind of enhanced the idea of kids looking at poetry, which is always a plus. But more importantly, it gave them that opportunity to utilize the technology. And we would use the emojis or buttons to kind of show tone and emotions a little bit, which is definitely a lot of fun. So definitely enjoyed it a lot. So cool. So as I'm hoping some folks will share a little bit as they're coming in and out, what I'm going to ask you to do, and I said this earlier, I apologize. I planned this session for 50 minutes, not realizing it was an hour and like 20 minutes. So I'm really closer to that hour time. What I'm going to ask you to do today is as we look at some of the things like, hey, Brian, like, I'd love to do this more. Like, where do you get your ideas? Like, that's really creative. I'm gonna be really honest. I'm not a creative person. What I am is a great reader. And I am a huge advocate for paying real close attention to the Everyone Can Create curriculum by Apple. If you're an Apple district, it's beautiful. If you're not, like, here's what I would tell you, still read it anyway. It's got a lot of different cool ideas and objects that, oh, I can adapt that. And besides just creativity, this gives seeds to kind of get you started into lessons. So if you're in the Books app and any iOS device, just type in Everyone Can Create. They have an Everyone Create video, photo, GarageBand, music, all kinds of stuff. Really, really cool. So I hope that today that you will take a moment when you're done. I'm a Twitter fan, so I hope you are too. Please share out what you've done on Twitter. Use the hashtag, and I might reach out to our moderator to make sure that I'm telling this right. I believe the hashtag is hashtag 2021 e-learning, which you can, like I said, if I'm wrong with that, anybody, please share that with me. I'm pretty sure that's the hashtag I saw. But absolutely share that out and do me a favor, like, please tag me. I'd love to see what you've done. I'm a huge social media fan. My district is very pro sharing ideas, and we do that a lot because some of the best ideas we get are from other educators, and by sharing and pulling everything together, like, we can really do a whole lot. So I'm really excited about that. I hope that if anything today, you walked away with a new tool. And what I'm going to ask you to do with this extra like 15, 20 minutes we might have had left in the session, I'm going to kind of hang around. We're probably going to turn off the recording. And I would say just take some time to work on your project a little bit in between the next session. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I hope that you have a great rest of the conference, and really keep working on what you got, because I'll tell you, we've got some cool stuff going on in the conference. And like I say, tweet out, share about your experience and what you've learned. It's definitely a lot of fun. Thank you for having me today.